after all these years.
This is the Adam Carriker Show.
Position right of the quarterback, out of the shotgun, 1st and 20. Jailbreak screen in the air. It is tipped. It is intercepted by Carriker at the Missouri 21-yard line.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, 8-year NFL vet and All-American defensive lineman Adam Carriker.
Shotgun snap to Everidge. He's got the left arm going, and now he's got a whole lot of Adam Carriker who rips him down inside the 25-yard line.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Adam Carriker.
Well, welcome into the Adam Carriker Show here on 93.7 The Ticket. The big man is out today, but we still roll on. I'm Jake Buckleman in studio. We've decided to get a three-man group in here. Nick Sainert and Austin Orman in as well. Guys, welcome to the Adam Carriker Show. Hopefully you're having a good day so far. I know both of you are very locked in to Nebraska basketball as you've got some plans out to the Golden State out there coming up for the opportunity, the road trip coming up. But first, Nebraska had to get past Maryland so we can kind of open up talking about that. But of course, first off, how are you guys doing today?
Better now.
Yeah, just dandy. Great. I wanted to take a friendly wager on whether or not we will dive deep into old Husker basketball players on today's show, because we've done that the last two times. We've done a three-person show together, and so I just didn't know if today's the day we do it again.
Well, Price Sanford has officially passed Ray Gallegos in the made three-pointers in a single season, I think. Or maybe he's catching him in attempts. He'll have to chuck to get to a Ray Gallegos level, but we know how mics work? We good?
Well, the mic is working, but I'm a big, I like the arm
down. Are you an up guy?
I like it up like this. People on the video stream will know, but I like it up like that. I don't know. Personal preference. Bach, how are you doing? Has anybody asked you how you're doing?
Nobody's asked me that. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I feel neglected over here, but no, I appreciate that. It is doing pretty well. I think we're all doing pretty well with Nebraska basketball now 13-4 in Big Ten play. Sometimes I think you just got to quiet the loud, like the vocal minority, as you put it all the time. DP was trying to kind of get an idea of why some fans were upset, and I wouldn't worry about it too much. I mean, most fans, I think, are way overjoyed.
They have lost 4 games.
How dare they?
We forget about this. We forget about this. How about this text? 4332. My 3 favorite people at the ticket on the same show. Pinch me, I'm dreaming.
There we go.
I would like to think that is serious, but I also don't know if that's sarcasm. So we just take it with a grain of salt.
Are we not fan favorites generally? Is that... I mean, it's fair. There's a few former Huskers.
I was going to say, you compare resumes and former stuff. I didn't play and win national championships. I don't know if you guys did.
No.
I wasn't even
on Xbox.
Yeah. Right. So there you have it.
Yeah, not much more than that, but we do appreciate it.
They said I'm serious.
Yeah, he's serious.
All right. We got
respect.
My Siri popped up.
But anyway. we did have, I think that 2 times ago, when we got together, it was like the beginning of the season. I don't know what they were, 5 or 6-0 or something like that. And we're just dreaming and thinking, how could the season turn out?
Can they get to double-digit wins and
right. And we did. We got to the discussion of what about 5 or 6 losses? Like, no, that's ridiculous. There's no way. I mean, we're even dreaming here, and that's not realistic. But here we are, Nebraska now 24-4, 13-4 in Big Ten play. It's been the best season in Nebraska basketball history. Again, to that vocal minority, I always wonder if that's you always think that's not true Nebraska basketball fans. If you seriously sat through Nebraska basketball, and I don't want to try to out fan base, there's more people that watch it further than I, people that watch less than I, but if you've done it for any more amount of time, 5 years or more, there's no really arguing.
Yeah.
There's no way you really could even say in any way that you're not having the time of your life with Nebraska basketball relevant in the top 25. And Nebraska's kind of the story of college basketball this year. It's, you look at the rest of the top 25, there's teams in there and locally, obviously we're paying more attention than anybody, but there's nobody really having the story that Nebraska's having. Miami, Ohio might have an argument, but they're obviously they're not in the Big Ten.
And see, I would still argue that maybe it is Miami of Ohio. There's only a list of 5 teams that have been undefeated, as a mid-major this late in the season. Only a couple You think about that Wichita State team that was really good, that drew the 8 seed Kentucky, that made it all the way to March Madness, not just Arch Madness, right, but actual March Madness undefeated. And maybe it's just because, we're in the bubble here. I feel like the Nebraska thing lost a little momentum. And
sure,
I have more concerns about Fred Hoiberg's Coach of the Year candidacy. Not that he cares, not that that's the end all be all, but I don't think Travis Steele at Miami of Ohio will win it just because it's Miami of Ohio. I'm hoping for Fred Hoiberg's sake and, in recognition of the job he's done, that, Michigan continues to look vulnerable and look mortal, because I think Dusty May has a case, not just, because they're winning, but because they did have so much buzz for so long. Tommy Lloyd in Arizona being the last undefeated high major team for so long might have a case. John Shire at Duke, I have to throw in there just kind of offhand, and plenty of others. But, I think that the talk around Nebraska has died down in that way in terms of the story of college basketball. 2 seed Nebraska? Absolutely. 3 or 4 seed Nebraska with the defeats in the high profile games. I think people recognize how good they are. I think Nebraska can pick up again as a story come NCAA tournament time, just like they did, in 23-24 when, look at the nation finally gets to meet Keisei Tominaga. Like Nebraska's not on broadcast television 25 times a year.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Fred's the leader in the clubhouse.
I think he should be.
No, I think he is. I think he should be, and he is. The reason I said it, this is a Nebraska team that didn't even make the NIT last year. Like we have to remember.
Well, they weren't able to make the NIT last year because of TV contracts.
Yes. But would they have been good enough to make the NIT?
Yeah, they made the Fox equivalent of it.
The Fox equivalent, a brand new tournament.
Yeah, they would have made the NIT.
They
wouldn't have hosted in the first round, but they would have made it.
Like we forget, this is a Nebraska basketball team that didn't make the conference tournament last year.
Well, I think that it's important to say that too.
There's a lot of and I guess it goes back to the good old question, guys, of whenever we vote on these like end of year awards, like what's the criteria? Are you taking into account what they were last year and then the job that they've done this year to make it to this year, or is it just from game one or at the start of this year's basketball calendar to the end? Like, I don't know what the criteria is.
Because it's always shifting.
Bingo.
Because it's so subjective, right? I think there's sometimes, I use the baseball example, right? It's usually whichever team overperforms expectations the most, which is why Dave Roberts doesn't win Manager of the Year for leading the Dodgers to 100 wins, even though I think there are plenty of managers who could screw that up or not get the best out of their guys, right?
That's why I think for overachieving is smaller.
Right. And that's why I think, Matt Quatrero has gotten robbed of a couple because the Guardians have been just a little bit better than the Royals, right? I think Matt Quatrero's really deserved one there. I mean, not that Stephen Vogt hasn't, but the Guardians overperformed just a little bit more. And then, let's say in my case for the Royals, Quatrero keeps overachieving, whatever you think that is for the Royals. He'll get a legacy award where it might not be his best managing job. Maybe there are more tactical errors in the records, just kind of middle of the pack. It's not their best year, but hey, this guy's been a really good manager for a long time. We should probably go ahead and throw him a bone. I think that it's hard to judge what Coach of the Year looks like from the outside looking in because we get so few glimpses into what coaches actually do, what they actually say. All we can judge them by are the game-by-game results. Maybe someone pops up and says something in the media and becomes, the voice of the year in a key moment. Or maybe, a team stays relevant. But I think that it's a pretty lazily voted on award. Oh, who did I not expect to be good? And who's the coach of that team? Sure, I'll vote for that guy, I guess.
But it's interesting. Like you said, I mean, you do that in any award. The NBA MVPs having their own arguments now because they've put a threshold on the amount of games that you have to play to get in. And so, again, it's like who's overperforming compared to expectations. All that stuff kind of gets thrown in there. But I do think, you have to, there should be an argument in this case. And I think a lot of people went through the argument of, if Nebraska had Duke's laundry in, they'd be ranked higher. That type of argument. And to me, you should absolutely take in the history of Nebraska basketball. That's kind of the whole point. This has been a program that's been down for the longest time. He's had to, obviously, in Fred Hoiberg, is bring it from the doldrums of college basketball, at least at the Power 4 level, to as high as a 5th ranked in the country and currently top 12. But I think the bigger thing is too, if you don't want to take, if you don't want to take 128, 38, whatever years of data, fine, throw that out. But at least do like you were saying last year. At least take into account last year, because I think that's where you have a pretty darn good argument, at least as far as from the standpoint of better than the return that you are coming off of the previous year. In that you look at all the rest of the top 25. I mean, it's just filled with teams. The Duke, Arizona. I mean, you'd run through it: Duke, Arizona, Michigan, Iowa State, Houston, UConn, Florida. I mean, you go down to the bottom. You got the Kansas, the Alabamas. These are all basketball schools, teams that have been here before. And so for Nebraska to rise up where they were, somebody on the text line kind of talk about preseason polls. Preseason, what was it, 14th in the Big Ten? I mean, I think all that stuff should come into account. But now it is interesting, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this, because Nebraska, while they do have have had the best year, and it's been a great resume. Part of that, you can do the laundry argument, right? Is that it's the Nebraska on the front. They are 2-3 against AP ranked teams this year. Other teams, Michigan's 6-1, Illinois 5-4. A lot of teams have played more of those type of teams, right? Michigan State 4-3, Purdue 4-3, and there's several different ways you can get in quad one wins. There are different ways to do it, but that is one thing that I do think is a little bit still there for Nebraska's. Yes, they've been tested. Their non-con kind of fell apart. The Kansas States of the world, Creighton not doing well. So they've got a few wins, but they're still relatively less battle tested, I suppose, against the top teams than many of the teams that we're seeing across the country.
Maybe. I think that, so I lean towards the quads, right? Because that's what seems to be the end all be all, the king statistic when talking about things like this. Nebraska's 7-4 in quad one games as of February 25th. Maryland's game last night was a quad 3. Nebraska's 7-4 in quad ones. They're obviously their 4 losses away against Michigan, who is second in the net, Illinois, who's 4th in the net, Purdue, who's 7th in the net. 3 of your 4 are the top 7 teams in the country. And that's not to mention that you've also beaten Illinois on the road. You're right that naturally some of the non-con has fallen apart. But
cough, Oklahoma, cough, Kansas State.
Yeah, exactly.
New Mexico's trying to get in the
New Mexico's a neutral win, so that one helps out Nebraska a little bit. That's quad 1 right now. But what I'm getting at is you avoided, and this was the biggest thing through the non-con because it did fall apart, is you avoided losses. Like imagine if we're talking about a loss to Kansas State today. It probably hinders things, not dramatically, but it doesn't look as sexy. And when we're talking about this, Nebraska 7-4 in quad 1, 5-0 in quad 2, 6-0 in quad 3, 6-0 in quad 4. And your last 3 games, Austin, are all quad 1 opportunities. This could look even better if you finish out the year 10-4 in quad 1, and overall on the season you're 27-4. You are thrilled with what's going on.
Net is absolutely a key, and there's a reason we talk about it so much. I do think it's fascinating. Evan Miyakawa pointed this out. We had the committee's top 16 reveal over the weekend. Guess how many times they brought up the net ranking as a rationale for why a team was where it was? It was 0 times.
Yeah.
The net was not the key rationale, which is weird because we've talked about it as such, and it's still important, but it's been wins above bubble. And that's a Bart Torvik number in a lot of ways. And here's the thing. When you look at wins above bubble, Nebraska looks even better. Nebraska is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the country in terms of wins above bubble. That's the stat that got brought up the most. It's Michigan, Duke, Arizona, UConn, Purdue, Nebraska, who's then right ahead of Houston, Gonzaga, Iowa State, and Florida, rounding out the top 10 in that stat. I'm still trying to find this article. I know I read it because I know I talked about it on Corner 3 at one point. As we go back to Coach of the Year, in 42-51, I think Fred should be the favorite. I think he's done a great job. But there is a team in the top 10 essentially every year that ends up getting a 7 seed or lower in the tournament, right? So more often than not, those teams are your top 4, top 5 seed lines. But there's always a team that falls out of there. So, yeah, the majority do, but it's not as simple as you coach a good team, you're going to be good. Good teams, talented teams fall apart all the time. teams that have Nebraska's, relative talent level, if you look at the recruiting rankings, if you look at the portal rankings, there are lesser coaches that wouldn't get this much out of Nebraska. And so that's a credit to Fred Hoiberg, but let's not pretend like it's just as simple as good players mean good results. There have been so many teams that have been train wrecks, and I don't want to just discount those coaches in the top 10, because they have good talent, because they have good programs, because they have good pedigree. Every year is work. Every year is a grind. Maybe some years it's easier than others because of the talent or the situation or the schedule or whatever it is you want to call it. But we can't just discount the guys in the top 10 as guys that will get votes for coach of the year, either alongside or over Fred Hoiberg from some media members, because that's unfair to the work that they put into, right? Just because it's usually an expectations award. And I think Fred Hoiberg has pretty clearly surpassed expectations more than about anyone, this side of Miami of Ohio. But again, mid-major, we'll see how much love they actually get. I'm just saying, even if I agree that Fred should be the favorite, don't be surprised if he's not a unanimous guy. But I think then to Nick's point, a strong close to the regular season, a strong showing in the Big Ten tournament, that will reopen some eyes to Nebraska. That will reopen the avenue to an upper three, or depending on how things break in other conference tournaments and through the rest of the regular season, Nebraska creeps back up into that 2 line with a couple, quality wins here at the end of the regular season and into the Big Ten tournament. Then I think that buzz starts building again.
And we can't act like they're not going to get opportunities, right? Where in addition to the regular season, I mean, if the bracket was, if their season was to end today, Nebraska would be the 4th seed in the Big Ten tournament, and the 5 seed that they'd play if they get past their first game on that Thursday would be Michigan State. You talk about beating a power or a well-known name in the month of March. And that's the opportunity. And then guess what? If you end up winning that one, you play the winner of Michigan, and I can't remember who would be 6th, or who would be 8th in that bracket, hypothetically, more than likely Michigan. So it's like you're going to get opportunities before the March Madness actual tournament starts. That's why also it's incredibly important for Nebraska to close out these last 3. When it's all said and done, Nebraska, let's say hypothetically they fall 2 times on the road. Worst case scenario, they go 1-2 in their last 3. They lose the 2 road games to USC and UCLA, and then you win Iowa, or in some fashion you win against USC and you lose the last 2. And then you lose. That's
probably worst case scenario.
I think that's worst case scenario there. Well, is if you beat USC and then you finish the season on a 2-game losing streak.
Specifically, yeah.
Because then I think you go to the Big Ten tournament. You miss out on the triple bye. The triple bye right now for Nebraska is theirs to lose.
The triple bye seems more important for Nebraska than any other team in the top 4.
100%
right now.
100%. And so Nebraska would then have to play on Thursday instead of Friday. And if you don't win your first game, or whatever the case might be, you're talking about it might go from a 3 seed comfortably to 5. Like can we see them drop 5?
Depends on who you would lose to. I mean, with those 2, UCLA, Iowa, good enough teams, both probably tournament teams, and then if you're losing in the 4-5 game, I don't think that's a damaging enough loss
Not
to
in the
drop
4-5,
you.
but if you go 1 and done,
but again, if you're the 5 playing the 4, I guess it'd be your second game.
Yeah, it'd be your second
right?
game. That's what I'm saying.
If you beat the 12 and then you go 1-1, then it's a bad look. But then there's so much other context, right? Because it's not just Nebraska, right? You have to think about the other teams that are in consideration, right? Like, what does Texas Tech do without JT Toppin? Does Vanderbilt get overwhelmed by size and go 1 and done? Does Gonzaga lose to St. Mary's or something like that? How does Michigan State look? They're in that same conversation, right? What does St. John's do? They just got blasted last night by UConn. Yeah, and for those who missed it was 72-40. UConn literally could have dribbled out every possession and still won by 1 point. St. John's went the final 17 minutes and 28 seconds without a made field goal. Wow. 2 of 28 in the second half. And see, that's the thing, that Nebraska's had some stinkers, but for a team in St. John that is, trying to play its way up back into that conversation, Nebraska doesn't have a performance like that. Nebraska doesn't have anything on its resume. I went to bed without a minute and a half to go. I'm going to assume that Oregon ended up closing out Wisconsin in men's basketball last night,
which is crazy.
But see, Nebraska doesn't have a game like that on the resume.
Yeah.
The chance for Nebraska to have that game pop up is USC. If you can avoid it there, and USC is better than Oregon, so it wouldn't be quite as damaging. Nebraska's in a better spot than Wisconsin. But if Nebraska avoids that kind of skid mark on the resume, Nebraska competes the way that we've seen them compete against UCLA and Iowa before. I don't know if I can say handle business, but play Nebraska basketball against those two teams, you probably like where you're at the end of the year.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's in Nebraska's control, but Nebraska's, are they a 2 seed, 3 seed, 4 seed, 5 seed? Goes way beyond just Nebraska.
It's an interesting thing. Michigan State's got a big one tonight on the road at Purdue, 7 p.m. tip off. That's one I think a lot of Husker fans will have their eyes on for sure.
Yeah, both. Of course, if you're watching the standings there again, all the all important missing, starting on Friday rather than Thursday. There, Michigan State and Purdue both 12-4. Nebraska obviously 13-4.
Like that's the other side of it. Also, is Nebraska's last 3 are pretty favorable. Are pretty favorable.
Fairly, yeah.
Your toughest one out of the 3 is at home, right? I'm not wildly concerned about the USC game, more so about UCLA.
I'm curious about UCLA because was Illinois their last hurrah?
Bingo.
Does it spark them, or was that their signature?
Like the pinnacle. But we talk about Michigan State. They have to go to Purdue tonight, right? Michigan travels to Illinois tomorrow and to Iowa next week. That's Michigan's schedule. And now not because we're worried about Michigan dropping
that far.
It's not happening, but more so let's just play the odds. Michigan wins on the road at Illinois tomorrow, and then Michigan beats Iowa. That allows Nebraska to have a little bit of breathing room, especially with the Illinois loss.
Yeah.
Right? Because then you're not as worried about head-to-heads. It's Nebraska, first and foremost, take care of your own business. But there are other things that do affect Nebraska in all of this.
Well, I think it's interesting, too, and maybe to kind of bring it all back, and maybe what DP was getting to originally was that loss to Iowa, because that changes the way that you perceive Nebraska in general, because that is the one loss. Not that Iowa's a bad team, but they're not a top 15 team, right? Your other losses are to like the who's who of college basketball.
Yeah.
And in the Big Ten, the loss to Iowa kind of opens up the possibility Nebraska could be upended or upset by somebody. Iowa's probably 7 to 10 seed in the NCAA tournament, depending on what they do here down the line there. And so, that was kind of interesting. And even talking with him, it kind of got to, okay, Nebraska's going to be favored in their first matchup in the NCAA tournament. They should be favored in their second matchup, so they should go. And then, and for me, that's what I'm thinking. If you're a 3 seed and you're facing a 6 seed, you've already been upended by an Iowa that's going to be lower than that. You just don't count in your chickens before they hatch. Where it was nice to be able to do that a little bit more, at least in your mind space, before Nebraska dropped one of these. If you haven't dropped to Iowa and you're looking at this final stretch, you're definitely thinking Nebraska should go 3-0 because none of these teams are on the pace with the teams that they've lost to thus far.
Okay, let's play the game that everybody is playing in the world for all these big media folks. I give you guys teams, you tell me how far they make it. Let's play this game. Let's go with, we brought up Miami, Ohio earlier. What are you guys going with?
Round of 32.
Okay.
Maybe Sweet 16.
Oh my gosh.
They can shoot.
You're a Miami, Ohio believer.
I trust the analytical profile.
Okay.
Here's the bigger question. If they lose, do they make it? That's a 1-bid league.
They should.
Okay.
They need to be there.
I don't think they make it out of the first round.
Wow.
I'm calling they lose round of 64.
I'd say round of 32. So we're all at different spots.
Saying they're losing to 6-11?
I am.
Or 7-10?
Because I think they're the 11.
It's going to be very interesting to see where they're at.
I need them to knock off like Wisconsin. Put up 35 threes.
What if they get matched up with Arkansas in the first game?
Arkansas is prone to some clunkers.
Okay. Let me go through. Okay, so here are your 6 seeds according to Joe Lunardi, because in this bracket, Miami's the 11.
Okay.
Right. And I'm not a big Joe Lunardi guy, but this is what we go with. Miami's the 11. Your 6 seeds, your possible matchups: BYU.
No Bakeda. Don't hate it for them.
North Carolina.
Oh, they're going down.
Miami or North Carolina's going down.
Come on.
Okay. Louisville.
Yeah, I could see Miami there.
Tennessee.
Current Tennessee, I think, can beat
Wow.
them.
I can't believe how much you're on the Miami, Ohio Redhawks.
They shoot it.
They said
They
Sweet
do.
16.
Okay.
I might like this Miami of Ohio team as much as I did last year's Drake team.
Okay. Well, I like Drake last year a lot. Okay, two more. Let me go with let's do a Big Ten team here. Let's go with somebody that's intriguing, Purdue.
Fuck.
Matt Painter has a long history of not living up to expectations in the tournament. Now, he's done it a few times. Obviously, you always talk about guard play, senior guard play specifically at that level. Braden Smith leads you there. I don't know if I trust Fletcher Lawyer to either go off or shoot like two of like 12. So
4-17, baby.
Yeah, 4-17 could be that. Most teams don't get Oscar Cluffed like Nebraska did. But I mean, you've got to at least think. I think I usually get a little disappointed about it. I might just say Sweet 16 for everybody, but that would probably be my guess. There.
Okay.
Final four ceiling, round of 32 floor.
Okay. What about Nebraska? Let's do it. Let's talk about it.
I think they're a second weekend team.
So Sweet 16.
I think they make the second weekend, and from there it's matchup.
Okay, I agree, because I think Nebraska's that team that you probably don't want to play against because they're going to have a home floor advantage wherever they play, though. And that matters.
Probably.
I think that matters. Even if it's Buffalo, people will not care. If they make the second weekend, they will not care where it is.
Yeah, that I agree with.
And Nebraska's is going to be, in my opinion, the most expensive ticket and location across the country.
I could see it.
And that's why I think all of that, especially if Nebraska wins that first round tournament game, is the reason why, it might be a little bit faded, what we talked about earlier about Nebraska being the story of college basketball. I hope it gets Northwestern treatment by the time Nebraska wins the game in the NCAA tournament. And of course, you don't have as many alumni in the press, but the fans might force it.
Okay, before you go there, Bach, if we get full Northwestern treatment for Nebraska, I think it was Chris Collins' son, was that crying Northwestern kid on the bench.
Right.
So we're going to need crying Charlie Hoiberg.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
If things don't go Nebraska's way in the second round.
Who's Nebraska's story in the tournament?
Is it weird for me to say it depends on how the first round goes? Or do we need the pre-tournament story?
Pre-tournament story. Who's the player?
It's Sam.
Is it Sam?
Yeah,
Sam's
Sam's
going to love Sam.
Yeah. People
just
will
like
love
Sam.
Sam.
But I think if or when Nebraska wins that first round game or second round game, it's probably Price.
Okay.
And then if Nebraska's
like
into
that.
the Elite Eight, it's probably Rink.
You don't see a Braden Frager coming on like that.
Frager could be, but I think the local angle.
Sure.
You're going with Sam first, and Frager will be the X factor. I'm not sure he's the story.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think obviously, as we've seen it so far, Price is going to have to fill the bucket up. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back with more on that. I'm Carriker Show on 93.7 The Ticket.
Are you looking for something different for lunch or dinner in Lincoln? Big 8 is now open at 1226 P Street, serving seafood boils and Asian cuisine. Get your hands messy with fresh, flavorful seafood boils, hot, cold, and made to share. Or enjoy classic Chinese and Asian dishes, perfect for lunch, dinner, or a night out with friends and family. Big flavors, generous portions, and a brand new dining experience. Big 8, now open in Lincoln.
Looking to get a room downtown or near South Lincoln? Abe Lincoln would tell you no to the Ford Theater and yes to Lincoln Hotel. Save up to 40% off downtown Lincoln prices with a nice clean room and comfortable stay. Lincoln Hotel is locally owned and offers a day pass to the city's largest locally owned gym, Good Life Fitness. Long-term stays are available. You can learn more about pricing and book your Lincoln Hotel stay today at staylnk.com or call 402-600-0565. That's staylnk.com or call 402-600-0565.
It's seafood season at Amigos. Time to get that one-of-a-kind, crisp crab rangoon burrito and dip it in some sweet chili sauce. There's a crab rangoon Frenchie, too. Enjoy grilled fish, grilled shrimp, or crispy fish tacos, wrapped in warm whole wheat tortillas, topped with pico de gallo, cabbage, and Amigos Chipotle mayo sauce. From jumbo shrimp baskets or fish and chips to fish tacos, there's something for everyone. You'll love the bold, fresh flavors of seafood at Amigos. Amigos is serving up a brand new way to score the bold, fresh flavors you love with 8 affordable value meals. At $5 and $6, these meals are easy on the wallet, so treat yourself anytime. Sink into the new 3-cheese melt or taco melt, both stacked with crave-worthy flavor in every bite. There's crunchy taquito dippers, too, perfect for dunking in Amigos' famous ranch or spicy cheese. Big flavor, small price. Value meals at Amigos.
When you or someone you know has been seriously injured and you find yourself in need of an attorney, call Liberty Law Group. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group will fight for the justice you deserve in court to get the very best possible outcome. Trust the compassionate and hardworking attorneys at Liberty Law Group when you need an attorney in Nebraska or Iowa. Call them today at 877-404-5238. That's 877-404-5238. Or check them out online at libertylawgroup.com.
Want to make the easy call? Call John Henry's. From leaky pipes to a broken AC, flickering lights to furnace fights, even drains and duct cleaning, we've got it handled. Plumbing, heating, air, and electrical, all under one trusted roof. Proudly serving homes across Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas and ready 24/7. Visit calljh.com or call John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
And electrical.
Planet Fitness has everything you need anytime the motivation hits, so you can give everything you've got. With most clubs open 24 hours, you've got access to our best-in-class equipment to tackle early morning reps, late-night miles, and every workout in between. Join the club today and save $28 or more when you join for just $1 down, $15 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal ends February 27th. You ready? Planet Fitness. We're all strong on this planet. See club for details.
It's another new year and another exciting edition of the Nebraska Lottery's popular Cash Blast promotion. You know how it works. Until March 24th, buy a 2x2 ticket and get a voucher. Enter online for a chance to win a $5,000 or $500 weekly prize. And if your winning voucher is from a 7-day draw ticket, your prize is doubled. So start out your 2026 with a bang. Enter the Cash Blast promotion today. 2x2 top prize odds are 1 in 105,000.
This is Bill Mitchner, Executive Director of Lincoln Lighthouse. Did you know Lighthouse provides multiple programs for students such as one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, as well as pro-social skill exercises, while providing them a nourishing meal and a safe space during all months of the year, even during school breaks. Learn more or contribute to Lighthouse at lincolnlighthouse.org today.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Hey fellas, let's take a quick time out here. February is American Heart Month, and listen, men are the worst at getting checked out. We'll watch every stat in the league, but ignore the most important one. That's our own heart health. So here's the plan. Talk to your doctor about scheduling a quick heart screening at Advanced Medical Imaging. It's fast, it's easy, and it could save your life. Your family needs you around a lot more than your fantasy team does. Make the call, get the checkup, take care of your heart at Advanced Medical Imaging.
Back Nine Golf in South Lincoln is the premier indoor golf experience in the state. The weather in the winter months is cold, windy, and as unpredictable as a tee shot on the 450-yard par 4. With top-of-the-line full-swing simulators and a PGA teaching professional, Back Nine Golf is there to help you improve your game and lower your score. Back Nine Golf is open to the public with 24/7 access for members. Learn about Back Nine's variety of memberships today and see the facility for yourself at 7501 South 15th Street in Lincoln, just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Back Nine Golf, your premier indoor golf and events destination.
This is the Adam Carriker Show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on the Adam Carriker Show on 93.7 The Ticket. Adam is out for the day. We'll be out tomorrow as well. Just a heads up there. But for now, it is myself, Jake Bachman, and Austin Overman in studio. We talked a lot about Nebraska basketball and where they're positioned now after last night's victory, 74-61 over Maryland. We didn't talk a whole lot about last night's victory, 74-61 over Maryland. So let's jump into that now. And it's kind of interesting because where Nebraska finished last night, obviously with a 13-point victory. Rienk Mast had 13 points and 4 rebounds, and the numbers look pretty solid. But we were just having the conversation off air. I want to bring it on here now, Austin. A few times didn't look necessarily himself. I mean, had the chance to take the ball to the hoop a few times, pretty open in the post, and struggled to get it in there. Was it or was it not a goaltending? Of course, that will be debated as well. But it does. I think that was one thing is Rienk looked and his numbers improved, and so there's that side of it. But on the other side of it, I at least had to come away with that a little bit of worry. Obviously, that he's had a long career, had those injuries, and hasn't been as hot as he was at the beginning of the season. I mean, remember, this isn't necessarily to say played a bad ball game or something, but in the stretch of the 20 wins at the beginning of the season, people were talking about him as all Big Ten first team, and deservedly so. They would turn to him when they needed a shot. He'd hit it, run the offense through him, all that sort of stuff. And he certainly, I mean, I think he would tell you, and most onlookers can tell you, is not at midseason form, as we like to call it, despite being past midseason. Did you come away with a little bit of the same concern there, Austin?
Yeah, and I and others have brought up some concerns about Rienk Mast in press conferences with Fred Hoiberg, and he's been pretty dismissive about it. And it's Rienk. He's fine. He'll get it figured out. His shot looks good. His legs are back. It's Rienk Mast. He's playing through it. He's fine. I'm not worried about Rienk. If anyone on the team, he'll be the one to figure it out. I would say we're still kind of waiting for it. He had the big game against Rutgers. Great. Good job. Tip of the cap. He was fine last night, right? Purdue was not a good Rienk Mast game. Right. He didn't do the little things that Nebraska desperately needed him to do to find a way to win that game, even though, he did hit the big three late and came up with the offensive rebound put back to tie the game before missing the free throw. Rienk Mast has still had moments, right? Rienk Mast, in theory, is still exactly what Nebraska needs. And Nebraska did a lot of playing through Rienk Mast, right? Fred Hoiberg brought that up in postgame, right? They're still utilizing him. He's still, I would say doing his job overall, right, for what Nebraska has asked him to do. Man, 13 points on 13 shots. Even if that's, 15 on 13 with the goaltend, that I haven't seen nearly as many replays of as we have some of the backcourt violations and stuff from Iowa. So maybe it was a good, no goaltend call. Real time, I thought it was. But since Husker fans aren't so up in arms about it, either they've moved on because it was a win, or, hey, the refs got it right. Tip of the cap, pat on the back. Now, the over and back call was absolutely horrible, just ridiculous. Another time that's come up to bite Nebraska. The charge on Rienk Mast, again, really bad, right? Got sold by a bigger guy, making a little bit of contact with a littler guy. Mast had kind of slowed himself down, kind of put that arm bar out, but he didn't extend it. He kept it there to keep, it was Darius Adams at that point, I believe, at bay. Adams, did the typical sell, right, where he threw his back and kind of looked like an L. That's how you can kind of tell it's a flop and didn't get it. That was right after Rienk Mast had hit a three. So I think, going 1-2 on the day, that's fine for Rienk Mast. That could have been a moment where, as Nebraska is trying to, keep pace with Maryland at that point, try to put some distance between the two teams. Having Rienk Mast on the floor after he just hit a three could have been a good sign to get his confidence back. He got played off the floor with his third foul early in the second half. But more so than even that, there were times last night, and maybe this is just because Maryland had an athletic front court. Maybe that was just because Rienk Mast has always played this way to a degree. But I'm starting to get a little worried about Rienk Mast, and I don't know if situational awareness is the right way to phrase it. Spatial awareness, maybe. But he just seems like he's a beat off on the timing of his moves. Sometimes, he can go right up into a move. It'll look nice and clean. You make some, you miss some. Yesterday, there seemed to be some hesitancy. And, I could say the same thing about maybe the biggest play of the game for Nebraska, the Mast denial into the Hoiberg deflection into the Sanford chase down. Sam Hoiberg had a layup. He could have taken it. Sam Hoiberg has finished it the rim around that, but we know Nebraska doesn't like to challenge shot blockers. Maryland blocked a few shots already, so Hoiberg kicks it out to Lawrence, the pinball pass to Sanford for 3. It's all really cool, right? So, Nebraska preaches not getting shots blocked, of not challenging shot blockers, of playing off of 2 feet in the paint. And Rink Mast has done a really good job of that. But there have been times, and I think last night was one, where Rink Mast just needs to trust himself. He needs to trust his feel for the game a little bit more, especially when Nebraska is asking him to score. He shot faked his way into harder looks a couple of different times. I don't think he felt the defense. There was one time he had Diggy Coit, all like 5'10" of little David Diggy Coit on him. Before he even looked at the basket, he immediately whipped it from opposite block to opposite corner. Now, it was a relatively open 3 for Price Sanford. Fine, that's a decent look. But holy cow, you've got a 5'10" guy on you with no help coming. No one was digging down. No one was coming from the backside. Maryland was a little bit discombobulated. That's an easy drop step, go up to the hoop. We've seen Rink Mast do that time and time again, and he just didn't do it last night. And it continues a trend where, maybe the box score looks fine, or you can live without a big box score night from Rink Mast. But as we talk about Nebraska's ceiling, Rink Mast, I'm not going to say he's, not locked in, but him getting that feel for the game back, right? Him trusting himself again, especially on the offensive end, that is when Nebraska is going to be at its best.
Yeah, and I think that's the only discussion we're having right here is the ceiling for Nebraska, right? It's not, again, you can win with this version of Rink Mast. I mean, my God, the guy's been through enough injuries, and
right.
He's old. He's older, so it's understandable that his body might be taking a toll on him this late in Big Ten play. Then of course you have the sickness. Almost hospitalized for
right.
that. I mean, there's in no way is it kind of pounding the podium saying we need better or else type of thing. It's just It's just that the ceiling I do think does come down with Rink. And again, though he had a fine number in the box where you could tell he was a little bit off. And again, not just making this up. Again, 14 out of the first 16 games Nebraska had, he scored in double figures. It's now been 4 of the last 11. And again, scoring's not everything. We know that, but it just, again, it goes to that ceiling conversation where if you can get that early season Rink Mast combined with kind of where we've seen Price Sanford take off, and now Hoiberg fully confident to be able to do whatever he needs to do on the court, not worrying about his role and stacking up all these numbers. That's where Nebraska can obviously be very dangerous. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We will finish out the show. Get ready for Bach in the Black Shirt coming back next here on 93.7 The Ticket. We've got one more segment on the Adam Carriker Show. We'll do it next.
This is Bill Mitchner, Executive Director of Lincoln Lighthouse. Did you know Lighthouse provides multiple programs for students such as one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, as well as pro-social skill exercises, while providing them a nourishing meal and a safe space during all months of the year, even during school breaks? Learn more or contribute to Lighthouse at lincolnlighthouse.org today.
Big value and big flavor meet at Wings & Rings, thanks to the all-new delicious Duo Combo. This is the one you've been waiting for. Get 1 half-sized appetizer and 2 entrees with a side for only $19.99. Bring a friend for the best deal in town on any day of the week, during game time, or whenever the heck you want. Their made-to-order wings and chicken sandwiches are waiting for you at their 68th and O and 40th and Old Cheney locations. Stop by Wings & Rings and celebrate every day with the best meal deal in town.
Let's fly. Your next trip starts at Lincoln Airport with American Airlines. Now flying nonstop service to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago. American Airlines connects Lincoln to major hubs and destinations around the globe. Wherever you're headed, LNK gets you there with new nonstop flights on American Airlines. Convenient, fast, and stress-free. Book your next flight at lincolnairport.com. LNK, make flying easy.
Looking for a financial partner that truly makes a difference? Modern Woodman is a member-owned fraternal financial services organization. We can help you plan for all stages of life, from protection to saving to retirement. We also offer member benefits, social activities, and volunteer opportunities to help your family and community.
I'm Sean Erickson, your Modern Woodman representative in Lincoln. Call me at 402-483-6515 to start the conversation.
Modern Woodman of America, touching lives, securing futures.
In a world where Wi-Fi battles rage and bandwidth is never enough, one family dares to connect it all. Work from home, influence all day, stream all night, and game to win. Deadlines, downloads, and dance-offs, all happening under one roof, flawlessly. Can your internet provider do that? Fiber fuel your household at allofiber.com/all-in.
For remote starters, audio upgrades, and more, there's only one place to go. Auto Sounds of Lincoln at 48th and O.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
MHC isn't a new company, just a new name. Moe's Moving is now Moe's Home and Commercial. Whether moving across town or across the state, MHC Moving has you covered, specializing in home, apartment, assisted, and independent living moves. MHC can handle your commercial moves as well. MHC Moving has 0 hidden fees. You'll never pay for same-day booking or be charged for stairs, heavy items, or elevator fees. Rates are the same Monday through Saturday, and you will never pay a truck or fuel surcharge. And they offer payment plans through PayPal. Call MHC Moving today at 402-853-7167 or go to mhcmoving.com.
Rick Heyman here from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. I want to personally thank our great customers for voting us once again the best of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. You can count on Sartor Heyman for the very best quality, value, and customer service. When it comes to your jewelry needs, visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at sartorheyman.com, and thank you for your continued trust after all these years.
Planet Fitness has everything you need anytime the motivation hits, so you can give everything you've got. With most clubs open 24 hours, you've got access to our best-in-class equipment to tackle early morning reps, late-night miles, and every workout in between. Join the club today and save $28 or more when you join for just $1 down, $15 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal ends February 27th. You ready? Planet Fitness. We're all strong on this planet. See club for details.
Looking for something fun tonight? Axe throwing, local beer, and great vibes are waiting at Arbor Axe House. From casual nights out to celebrations and team events, it all starts here. Reserve a lane today at arbораxe.com. Arbor Axe House at the corner of N Street and Antelope Valley.
When it comes to concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction doesn't stall. They go for the takedown. As Nebraska's full-service concrete contractor, they stay in bounds, hold inside position, and never forfeit quality. Whether it's foundations, flatwork, or concrete coatings, they elevate performance and pin down results that win every time. Stevens & Smith Construction is a proud sponsor of Takedown Tuesdays on 93.7 The Ticket. Because when it's time to wrestle with concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction slams expectations.
This is the Adam Carriker Show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
A little late on the boom, but I'm here for the Adam Carriker Show. I'm Jake Buckman in with Austin Orman as we close it out and get things rolling for Bach in the Black Shirt. Just a few minutes here to close it out, but I did want to talk. We talked all about Nebraska basketball this season. We just went back and talked about Rink Mass and needing him to be at his best for Nebraska to reach their ceiling. It is going, and it can't go unnoticed, but it is very interesting that Nebraska basketball is now recruiting with just about everybody else. Ryan Hampton of a 5-star for the class of 2027 class. He will be coming in for the Iowa game on March 8th. Now, he's also got visits lined up on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, the North Carolina State, Ole Miss, and SMU. And SMU seems to have a little bit of a lead here. Once again, he's a junior in high school, won't have to make an immediate decision. But again, this is the number 3 overall recruit according to 24/7, and across all these recruiting sites, very highly ranked. I mean, it's almost goes back to Tim Miles bringing in Jahlil Okafor for a visit. I don't know how much more highly rated Nebraska's ever had. That type of player on campus. Even go back to Bryce McGowan's. Obviously, shout out to Bryce McGowan's, who's now got a 3-year contract in the NBA, but he was more closer like top 25 than top 3 or 5. Jaleel Okafor again was that, and they brought him in, but it was more like just to check out Nebraska than really to seriously consider Nebraska. Ryan Hampton's going to be considering Nebraska, and of course, Nebraska's been able to get a lot of attention from high-end recruits. They've already got 2 coming in next year that are top 100 players in Colin Rice and Jacob Lanier. It's a little bit refreshing. I mean, Nebraska basketball recruiting over the years, there's only a few guys each class. And so, I mean, you might have to be a kind of a big basketball nerd to look ahead and be excited about those. And I would do that over the years, but it was nothing like where it is now. So it is, it's very cool to see as Nebraska wins on the court, how that's reflecting in recruiting.
Yeah, so Nebraska, I don't know if they got a visit, but was at least in contact with Arizona freshman Koa Pete.
Oh, yeah.
As well, with the Todd Pete and Andrews Pete connection there. So it's still novel in a lot of ways for Nebraska. Here's the other thing, Bach. Did you know Ryan Hampton, that number 3 overall player, do you know who his brother is?
I do not.
RJ Hampton.
Okay,
who at one point was down to, I think it was Kansas, Memphis, and someone else in his recruiting, and said, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to go play overseas. He's the kid that went and played in New Zealand for a year instead of going to college, kind of in the middle of the LaMelo Ball trend. RJ Hampton was one of those guys, ended up then playing for the Nuggets, got drafted by the Bucks, and then his rights were traded to the Nuggets, really bounced around the NBA, the G League for a while, and he's playing over, I think, in China right now. But that's the bloodline that Ryan Hampton comes from, right? Would not be the first round NBA draft pick in his family. I think that Ole Miss with Chris Beard, certainly intriguing, but I think the obvious kind of candidate here has to be make him a strong, you-know-what offer. Mr. Will Wade himself, has done that before. So great for Nebraska to get a visit again, kind of sticking with the type that they like, that long, rangy, athletic sort of wing that could probably play the 2, probably better profiles as a 3, especially as he grows. But the fact that Nebraska basketball is getting these visits more consistently, I think is due in large part, obviously, to the recent success that they're having. Credit, I would say, probably Ernie Ziegler, Pat Monahan, and Nate Lenzer for a lot of what they do in recruiting. I think Fred Hoiberg, gets out and about and certainly does his part in recruiting, but I think Nebraska has 3 pretty darn good recruiters on staff. And I think most importantly, Bach, they're starting to develop a bit of a pipeline or a bit of an archetype, and it comes from, I think, really Bryce Williams was the guy that started this off, right? You can maybe argue Bryce McGowan's, and I would have a hard time pushing back, but that, 6'6" to 6'8" scoring feature wing, you could go from Bryce Williams over to Price Sanford into probably Colin Rice. Lanier's probably more of a bit of a 2, into all those 27 class guys that we mentioned have already been here at times. Nebraska has a type. They're utilizing that type well, and I think it's really appealing to that caliber of prospect.
Well, and I think it's too, specifically myself being a shooter, if you would say an archetype for my rec league basketball, is that I'm very excited about what they're doing there, though, too, is because if you watch Keisei Tamanaga and what he's done for Price Sanford, Coach Hoiberg and the staff now, you've got a bit of a lineage there coming on, too, of like, hey, if you're a shooter, we can get you looks.
Yeah.
And certainly Price Sanford is taking that to a whole nother level, going to get national attention for that. So Nebraska doing much better in recruiting, bringing some big stars in town for some visits. It is going to be fun to watch, not just whatever happens this season, but the growth of the program moving forward, I think, is in very good hands. Thanks again, Austin, for joining me today.
Anytime. Happy to do it.
Yeah, thanks as well to Nick, who joined for the first segment. Had to bounce out. That'll wrap it up for the Adam Carriker Show. Be back tomorrow. Buck in the Black Shirt coming on next year on 93.7 The Ticket.
Rick Heyman here from Sartor Heyman Jewelers. I want to personally thank our great customers for voting us once again the best of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. You can count on Sartor Heyman for the very best quality, value, and customer service. When it comes to your jewelry needs, visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at sartorheyman.com, and thank you for your continued trust after all these years.
Are you looking for something different for lunch or dinner in Lincoln? Big 8 is now open at 1226 P Street, serving seafood